Okay then, traders, welcome to this euro pound analysis. I'm going to be taking a look at euro pound, good old-fashioned currency strength and weakness analysis here, plus a little bit of data thrown into it. Obviously we had CPI out of the UK today coming in at 2.6%, coming in lower, heading more towards that 2% area, which is something that we were looking for to happen. What I'm going to do here is just select this to none, put this on pound, click OK, because core CPI, however, still remained fairly high at 3.4%. So I just want to balance that out. So CPI is coming lower. That's pretty standard. Reason being is because we've seen a lot of lower oil prices and things like that, which goes into the headline CPI figure. Core CPI was still at a fairly high rate, even though it did come in 0.1% lower, but just in as expected. So we didn't really see a huge reaction from the pound, to be honest, on that data, because it wasn't really anything that was shocking. And when we take a look at sort of some of the data that's come out this month, there's nothing really here that actually has impacted the UK in any kind of bearish way, right? And what I mean by that is April 11th, GDP came out. We know the market is really heavily focused on GDP. Came in at 0.5%, so actually a little bit higher. So 0.0% was the revised figure, up from minus 0.1, so it got revised higher. And then we had a result that was 0.5, smashing those expectations in the market. So GDP came out pretty good. And we take a look at the claimant count change, so sort of employment data, came out okay, 18.7, again beating expectations here. And then we had average hourly earnings, which dropped ever so slightly. CPI coming in lower, core CPI standing a little bit higher. The market now faces attention going into next week, especially with the Bank of England Bailey speaking, and attention will be on retail sales next. But that data there doesn't necessarily suggest to me, you know, that the UK or the pound is going to be a currency that's sold off aggressively right now. However, when we take a look at the strength and weakness chart, we can see that the pound is weakening. It came in at -2 this week. If I just open up the chart here and we have a look at the line graph, we can see that we did see some decline. So we were at +5. So the orange line is the pound. We were at +5. We're now trading at -2. So there is significant kind of weakness in the pound from a technical perspective. Okay, when we look at the euro has just remained fairly steady over the past few weeks. It was up at the high +6s, but it did come down a little bit, but has kind of held a little bit stronger. So I like the idea of short in pound on a technical basis right now. I would love the fundamentals to begin to back that up. Now, what I really would have liked to have seen from a fundamental side was GDP coming in lower. I think a lot of attention needs to be put on GDP at the moment. I would like to have seen a higher claimant count change, because then I really think that if we saw big changes in core CPI, that the Bank of England would have cut interest rates in the next meeting. So if we take a look at euro pound now, though, the trend is still fairly bullish here, right? We broke out of this consolidation area, this strong consolidation between 82.50s and 84.50s. Market rallied aggressively up into the 87.50s before rebounding. And, you know, the momentum at the moment is to the downside, right? We can't, you know, really go against that view there. You know, we can't argue that point because price is moving lower. We've had consecutive bearish days. However, what I was looking at earlier was lower time frame changes of trend. Now, this is something that we've spoke about, is something that I like to look for in terms of potential continuations. Now, we have this 4-hour chart. Market is moving to the downside, but it's recently broken through this trend line resistance level. Also, if we go down to the hourly chart here, this is where I'm really focusing some attention. starting to change trend, very similar to what we had over here on the left hand side, this kind of double bottom breakout move. We've had a rally up, pullback, and now we're starting to break back above the 50 moving average as well. So what I'm looking for really personally is if price kind of continues to break higher, then it suggests to me that maybe we are starting to see some fragility again in the pound at the moment, and euro pound could be one to look for a move back up into these kind of swing high areas of maybe up into the high 87s. If we look at the daily chart, that estimation could be a little bit lower, probably up into the 8680s. Could be a good level to kind of target, which were those kind of opens and closes there. So that could be a good area to look at if we continue to see this kind of bullish breakout in euro pound. Another market from a currency strength and weakness point of view, when we look at the Great British Pound versus anything else, you know, the Swiss franc, strongest currency at the moment. Could we see a reversal to that? Absolutely. But you know, in these kind of current market conditions, are we going to see that? You know, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But if we take a look at pound Swiss at the moment, we are starting to potentially make a new low on this hourly chart. So, you know, price has been making that bullish trend again, higher highs, higher lows. We're failing to make a new high now. Is this going to be a condition where we start to see a push back towards this kind of 1.0650? I think if you're going to look at this potential move on pound Swiss and euro pound, two markets highly correlated, right? And this is something that we can use to our advantage, okay? Because Forex correlations are such an interesting subject, right? When we look at correlation in general, people just go, oh yeah, you know, that's correlated, that's fantastic. But you know, I like to look for decent correlations within the market, because it gives us an opportunity to see if one is going first, essentially, right? So I'm going to come down to euro pound, and the one that has a sort of 90% correlation at the moment is euro US dollar, okay? So really speaking, what is that telling us? Well, if euro dollar is going to rally, then maybe we've got the opportunity to see euro pound rally. So let's have a look at euro dollar at the moment. We're kind of stuck in a bit of a trading range here, but the momentum is still with the upside. We've rallied, pulled back a little bit, not really seeing aggressive sellers come in here right now. You know, if we do break lower, then euro pound will likely break lower as well. What we could look for is a break of these kind of 114.50s. That would really cement that kind of euro pound upside for me, just looking at kind of quick correlation there. Obviously we can look across the board as well. You know, if we look at sort of go down towards kind of pound Swiss, we click on pound Swiss. You know, I like to look at top correlations again and see if there's anything there. So we've got dollar Swiss in here, euro pound minus 85.6. So that's a strong correlation of pound Swiss and euro pound. Although that says minus 85%, that's because the euro and pound is the opposite of pound Swiss in terms of where the pound is situated as the base or the term currency, right? So it's the base currency here, the term currency here. So pound Swiss, if we were to put that as pound euro, it would be a very, very strong correlation. So again, I think if you're going to trade the one or the other, see which one kind of goes first, and then we can try and potentially take advantage of that. So if I just go on to what we'll do, actually, we'll type in pound euro, okay, and we'll get that one up. And then what I'll do is I'll compare pound Swiss to that, and we'll put that on a new price scale, because what this might help us to do, like I said, is find something in terms of that kind of correlation between the two. Okay, so I can see that, you know, pound Swiss starting to break down, euro pound starting to break down. You can see here how correlated these two are, right? You can see where, you know, euro pound started to break into sort of new lows here. Pound Swiss hadn't quite achieved that at the time, but then kind of followed it up and moved lower. We started to see euro pound actually move a little bit higher before pound Swiss started to push higher as well. So really speaking, at the moment, euro pound could be the leader into what's next for pound Swiss. So if euro pound or pound euro, sorry, starts breaking lower, which would be higher on euro pound, then maybe you could look for the same to happen over here on pound Swiss. Or what I quite like to look for is if pound Swiss has rallied and euro pound is still bearish, or pound euro is still bearish, there could be an opportunity to sell that at higher prices. So keep an eye on that. I think euro pound is something to look out for. If we actually just go revert that back so you can see that, I think if we get some clear breaks above this swing high here and we can see closes above, then I think, you know, we could start to see a little bit of upside. Think about your correlations with euro, dollar and pound Swiss as well, but that's a couple of things to have a look at from the currency strength meter. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully that made sense. If it did, leave a thumbs up and subscribe.